Another edition of the Sullivan County LGBTQIA plus Town Hall series is happening on Thursday, January 18th, starting at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Here to tell us more is Julie Gray Owens, Executive Director of Gender Equality New York, a nonprofit that advocates for transgender, gender non-binary, and intersex New Yorkers. Alan Carroll from Sullivan County's Cornell Cooperative Extension. Alan is on the board for the Hudson Valley LGBTQ Center that covers Sullivan County. And Marty Colavito from SALT, Sullivan Allies Leading Together. Julie, as the Executive Director for the Gender Equality New York, could you share with our audience the significance of hosting a town hall specifically focused on the LGBTQIA plus community in Sullivan County?
Yes, it's really amazing. I will actually talk a little bit about the results of what we saw after the first event that we held back in October. I'm coming up from Long Island, and being outside New York City, we have our issues, but I think we have probably a little more liberal environment than perhaps up in Sullivan County. And when I went up, what we did was we did a very quick training on basically a gender 101, which talked a little bit about biological sex, gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation, just to have everyone have the same concepts, understand the same concepts, use the same terminology. Everyone would have a baseline of information and understanding. And then we opened up the floor for comments and discussion. And I have to tell you that I walked away feeling very distressed about the LGBT community in Sullivan County and some of the discrimination, the prejudice, the bias, and the unsafe feelings that community members had up there. And I was very happy to be a part of, being asked to come up and help out. And it was clear to us when we re-met after the meeting that this had to go on further. There had to be more work. There had to be more training. There had to be more information given to community members. There had to be more linking of community members to each other. Unfortunately, we all live in our little silos, and it's important to come together to build some community strength together. So this coming event, number one, we held it on Zoom because we felt that perhaps the weather might be a problem. Rather than do that, we felt that it would be better, at least in January, to not wait until we could get together when the weather would be nicer, but to instead have something sooner rather than later, but also continue the discussion of what's happening up in Sullivan County and to point out to community members in Sullivan their ability to bond together and create strength and to create power. And one of the things that we'll be doing at the event, we'll be doing a presentation on advocacy and why everyone should be involved in advocacy. And by advocacy, I'm not talking about marching in the street necessarily, although that's always a tool in the toolkit, but it's knowing who your elected leaders are. It's reaching out to them and making them aware of who you are, and reaching out to them and letting them know the issues that you feel are important that they may not even be aware of. I take a lot of trips up to Albany, and I can't tell you how many times I've visited various senators from across the state, specifically on trans issues. And they'll say to me, I don't have any trans people in my district. I've never seen a trans person. No one's ever contacted me. And so when I hear people who are anti-trans, I have to go with that because I don't think I have any trans people in my district. And it's simply a situation where community members haven't made themselves be open and out and make their elected leaders aware of the fact that, yes, indeed, you are representing me and you need to be aware of these issues that are important to me. So we hope to sprinkle a little of that pixie dust, if you will, on the community in January, next week, and get people to start communicating to each other, connecting with each other, and create power, which is really the only way that we can make changes. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely does. Marty, you could talk about, the collaboration between SALT and how did SALT get involved in this town hall series?
We got involved with it because people allowed us to. Judy, Dana Halperin, Alan, other strong leaders in the community allowed us to, number one. And number two, we got involved because it makes sense, because if somebody allows you to be who you are, can you ever really be that person, right? We're who we are. And if somebody allows me to be who I am, I don't know if I could ever really finally realize who I am. And we're talking about just understanding that we're on this world together and that we are who we are. We should be loved for who we are. We should be considered for who we are.
Alan, if you could talk about the format of the evening, how that is going to unfold
So we will have introductions like we had last time, and there will be a presentation on how we can use advocacy as a part of our toolbox in making good change in our community. And then there will be a time for discussion amongst community members so they can present things they want to change, how they think that we can accomplish that kind of change, and how we can collaborate to work better together.
Julie, if you could talk about some of the if you could talk publicly of some of the ideas that came out of the last town hall.
I can talk specifically about some of the issues that we heard, which really became, situations where people moved in, LGBT members moved in and had, the term faggots scratched into the finish of their car, maybe had their pride flag ripped down and the flagstaff broken. We had community members tell us that they were afraid to park in the parking lot of the facility that we were holding the event at, afraid that people might see them going in. And so they parked their car a couple blocks away and then walked to the event because they were afraid that if someone saw them get out of their car and go in there, that their car might be damaged. So this is the kind of thing that really, to me, was at least eye-opening and obviously concerning. And I don't think, to be perfectly blunt, I don't think this is a Sullivan County issue. I think this is a New York State issue. We still see this type of thing on Long Island as well, but maybe not as, I'll call it, drastic as far as that goes. I mean, we have situations where we have libraries trying to ban LGBT books and that type of thing, and we pushed back hard enough that it was stopped. But what we're looking at is, we're looking at a more suburban setting where Sullivan County is obviously more rural and people are, again, perhaps miles away from each other, which makes it, harder to organize, harder to be together, and harder to create that power that we really need to create. And I don't mean power in a negative or evil way. What I'm talking about is just making people aware of the fact that, hey, we exist. We are a community of people. We deserve the same respect as everyone else. And we simply want the same rights that everyone else has to live, to be able to provide for our family, to be happy, and not to be fearful.
What were did you get any reaction from the town hall series? Did anyone come up to you and tell you how important it was for them or any stories like that?
I can tell you a lot of people came up to me. I don't know if Marty, whether you had some, but I mean, it was really interesting to see at the end that there were people that felt relieved, believe it or not, that we were actually talking about these issues, that instead of having it pent up, this anger of like, why are they doing this to me? It's not fair. It's not right. We were talking about it. We were poking at it. We were putting it on the table to be examined and to be looked at. And ultimately, hopefully, to work on things that will provide a positive reinforcement of who we are and what we want.
Absolutely. Like I say, we live in a rural area, and it's, events like this or discussions like this usually happen to more urban areas. So this is happening on Zoom. So how can folks get involved who haven't been the last town hall series, want to be part of this discussion on Zoom? Where do they have to go? What information can they find? Marty? Or
I'll say, Julie, we blasted a flyer that has the link and the QR code. If it's not, they're the same thing. But if people want to find out more about it, they can always either call me at 845-596-0075, 596-0075, or they can email me at Martin, Martin, Colavito, Colavito, 1234@gmail.com. And I'd be more than happy to navigate them to this event.
Absolutely. Before we go, any last statements, Julie, Alan, or Marty?
Yeah,
I would. You asked before if folks came and gave feedback, and
Marty.
One person during the event, towards the end of it, made a statement, and it resonated with me two ways. All right, and the statement was they never feel safe in the county, but they always feel safe with SALT. All right, now I'm not saying that to pat SALT on the back, because at first I felt really good, but then I felt really sad that anybody would have to feel unsafe. And we're probably not the sharpest knives in the drawer, and we can figure this out. And I'm confident that most of our neighbors can figure it out as well and just realize we're all neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have the Zoom link if it'll help, and I'm just going to read it out because I don't think there's any better way to do it. So I'm going to go slowly, but the Zoom link is https:/bit dot, I guess that's a 1y slash 118 LGBTQ. And that will take them to the registration page to get the whole process started for joining the Zoom link.
People can always log into saltedsoulcares.com and get the information as well.
Before we go, anything you wanted to say?
The last event, I was actually just a participant, and it inspired me to get more involved.
Okay, so you went there at the first series, not part of the organization, and you got inspired from what happened to get involved. Can you talk more about that a little bit?
I was already doing some activism and being part of a board of another organization, but I realized that there's a lot more work to do here in Sullivan County, and it got me to step up. And I think that the more we present ourselves and the more we put ourselves out there, the safer this community is for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
on our end, I just want to add the work that we're doing in Sullivan County. I'd like to see us reproduce it in other counties around the state. I think that the Sullivan County group is truly an amazing group of people that are really stepping out to make a change. And my organization is going to be looking for people like that in other counties to do exactly the same type of work that we're doing here in Sullivan County. I think Sullivan County is a perfect example of what needs to be done across the state on a local level. Because it's important for people to understand that, for example, not many people probably do, for example, library board elections or town councils, but those people will eventually be state legislators, many of them. And as a result, if you don't get them early and make them aware of the issues, when they go up to Albany, they know nothing. And then the work really is very hard for us to have to, make change. So we really want to get these people early to start understanding our issues and start promoting the fact that, again, we're just a community of people that want what everyone else has. We want to be safe. We want to be happy. We want to live in a place where we're all welcomed and we enjoy all the beauty that New York State can offer.
Julie, Alan, Marty, thank you so much for joining me on the program. We're talking about the upcoming Sullivan County LGBTQIA plus town hall that's happening on Thursday, January 18th, starting at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on to the program. For Radio Catskill, I'm Patricio Raballo.